it does make a difference on how you think, like the way your body feels, or like how active you've been.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, being able to have ideas that you wouldn't have had if you were
Yeah.
tired or unhealthy.
Yeah. Because it's not like you are doing some exercise and you get like inspiration comes to you as you're doing the exercise. Like that never happens to me when I'm in a yoga class. But I guess just the condition of being more aware of your body and having more energy as a whole kind of contributes to it.
Yeah, I think. Well, I've heard that the best way to counteract Alzheimer's, I think, is physical exercise as a young person.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like the only thing that seems to help.
Oh, right.
I think I was listening to something about are all of these neuroplasticity app games doing anything? And they're not really. They may be better at that type of
like
app.
Sudoku, kind of.
Yeah, and like pattern recognition.
Yeah.
And there's like little games you can get on your phone, I think, that are like, how would you solve this problem?
Right.
Or, yeah, I have played them, so I don't really know. But they were saying that you get good at those apps.
Yeah.
But it doesn't translate much.
Oh, right. It's not like opening up new pathways that can be used for other things.
Yeah. And apparently the only thing that does is physical exercise.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's kind of linked, where it's like neuroplasticity. And I guess that just means like the ability of your brain to deal with different situations.
Yeah, and I think neuroplasticity has to do with this idea that you can change the adaptability of your brain as well. You can change its pathways, so you can like change the way you think. I don't know, like I remember neuroplasticity getting really big when people were talking about meditation. Meditation got popular. And there were like researches done to show how it can actually grow parts of your brain that are underdeveloped and things like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's the idea that the brain isn't, the pathways and the neurons in the brain aren't fixed. They can change
and grow.
Yeah.
So I guess that would make sense if you're having different ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. Exercise is a funny one because I know that I think you feel the same way about me, the same way about it as I do in lots of ways, that like, I don't know, sometimes I wonder, am I getting enough exercise? Because like I practice yoga a lot, maybe every day, and I do like proper classes kind of once, twice a week at least. But I don't do anything else. But what I do is I walk quite a lot, and we try to go for hikes every 2 weeks or something. And then sometimes I wonder, is that enough? But the thing is, I really don't want to go to a gym, and I don't want to do exercise with like machines and lifting weights and things like that. Yeah, like I want to do exercise that's just like being out and about in the world. And then like sometimes I wonder and worry, is that enough? Should I be doing like really, really hard training?
Yeah, I don't know. It makes me think of like comparing our lives to a hunter-gatherer. Because they weren't hitting the gym and like lifting logs and straining to bursting ever, I imagine. Apart from like the occasional time they had to do a very different type of job. Day to day, they were probably rarely really exerting themselves.
Yeah.
But they were active probably the majority of waking hours.
Yeah, like just walking around
Totally,
their
pick a
territory
berries.
and
Yeah.
yeah, in that intelligent yoga Peter Blackie talked about just like as well the difference in the quality of attention they must have had to their movements. Because if you're trying to navigate your way around a rocky terrain and a difficult landscape, and you also don't know if there's a predator, you're going to be paying attention to your movements and what you're doing in a very different kind of way.
Yeah, well, you couldn't do it with a phone in front of your face.
No, and our landscape now is set up in a way that we don't really need to think about how we move, you know? The pavements are, the pavements are flat, like there's signs telling us and traffic lights telling us when to stop and all that kind of stuff. So we can be quite clumsy, really.
Oh, yeah.
In our and it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So you can just like tune out with a few senses. You can listen to music.
Yeah. And they've done all sorts of, again, this was in his book, but they've done studies, like they did some studies in Holland where they got rid of traffic lights and road signs to see if it made drivers pay attention more, and the accident rates like halved.
Oh, really?
Because drivers were actually like, oh, I've got to pay attention, you know? I've got to know whether that guy's going
relying on the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. When I cross the road, I tend to look, even if it's on green.
Yeah.
Because, like, a green light doesn't mean the cars are going to stop. You know?
Yeah.
We assume it will, because it's a green or a red light for the drivers. But some dude might be on his phone and just plow right into you.
Yeah.
And it's like, all you needed to do was look left and right to know if a car was coming. But we just we trust the signs. With good reason, because most people also trust the signs. But yeah, I don't know. That's not particularly linked, but like...
Yeah, no.
We don't have to pay attention to our body.
No.
And what's going on around our body much.
Yeah. And I wonder if part of our thing in our society, our culture, is that we feel like we shouldn't have to. Like, I don't know if there's a feeling that we should be freed up to think about different things, you know? Like, we've got better things to think about or bigger problems to deal with. And in some ways, you do need some things to just be automatic. Like, after a while, it's useful to not have to think too much about how to drive. Yeah. And for it to become...
It actually becomes safer, I think.
Yeah.
Except I think that goes against what we were just saying. But I think highway driving...
Yeah. How to drive a car. Yeah. Once you get those automatic things down, you know, you need to put your foot down at this point, and I think that does make you safer, probably. Yeah. But
I guess you notice the anomalies.
Yeah.
When there's something going awry, it's like, oh, I need to just engage my thinking brain.
Yeah.
But you can notice anomalies better when you're not actually looking at it focused, maybe. But yeah, I wonder if it's like we're better than apes, so we don't have to think about our body. Like we've transcended that. The body, almost. But I mean, it's fucked. Like we move our fingertips all day. And that's about all we move.
Yeah.
So compared to at least half of your day as a hunter-gatherer, I imagine, actually being on your feet and moving around. And bending over, getting down on the ground, getting back up again, lifting stuff.
Yeah.
Even if you're like a gym, whatever you call them, someone who goes to the gym all the time, it's still the vast minority of your day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you go to the gym for 2 hours every day. That's still like nothing.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why it's desirable, or some people just like absolutely blitz it.
Yeah, it's almost like this feeling of like, well, okay, I know I've got to pay attention to my body, or I've got to stay healthy, so my job isn't conducive to that. Yeah. So I'll just cram all my physical exercise into this like 2-hour window.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't appeal to me. And I don't think it's, you know, definitely doesn't seem balanced. I don't think you'd have a balanced attitude to your health doing that. Well, I know that you wouldn't. Because when I was going to the gym when I was younger and I was just pounding the treadmill for like an hour to with the like calorie burner on to see how many calories I was burning.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a balanced approach to take to your health.
And it's like the wrong, well, maybe not the wrong, but the end isn't balance and awareness of your body. It's hitting 5,000.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it doesn't matter how you hit 5,000. And it's almost like we'll just put a podcast on and like forget about the fact that I'm running on the spot, looking at myself in a mirror.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big thing, hey, having to distract yourself from the fact that you're doing physical exercise to make it bearable.
Whereas if you're cutting down a tree or climbing a mountain for fun or fucking picking blackberries, you have to focus on it because it's almost like there's a goal, there's a reason to do it other than this hypothetical, it makes me makes my body better.
Yeah.
Which we accept, but we also have to distract ourselves while we're doing the actual thing. Where it's like, this is boring as hell. But yeah, I think it'd be sweet to be physical enough with your daily routine that you don't actually have to go to the gym.
Yeah, that's what I want. Like, that's what I want to try and aim for. And I think that I'd like as well, because yoga, at least when I practice it on my own here at home, is quite a solitary thing. And even when I go to a class, which is quite social, when it comes to practicing in the sequence.
Just you on the mat.
yeah. And if you look at what other people are doing, usually it's actually quite a bad idea.
Yeah.
So it's quite a individual thing.
Yeah.
And I think that I would like then a lot of the other exercise I did in my day to be kind of social. And that's why, going for walks with you, going for hikes with my parents, going swimming with other people, climbing mountain. I mean, I've never done it on my own. I'm sure it is awesome on your own, but it's really fun when you've got a group of friends and you're talking and...
Yeah, I think a view is better with someone else.
Yeah.
Because you just get to the top of the mountain on your own, you're like, all right, let's go down.
Yeah.
Whereas when you've got someone else, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Look how far we can see. Can you see that? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder what that is.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're on your own, it's just like, done.
Yeah, and linking back to what we started out by saying, it's really conducive to interesting conversations as well.
Yeah. I love the metaphor of climbing a mountain. I think it is so good for the human, because it's like, it's hard, but you stand at the bottom and you can see maybe to the top, or maybe it disappears, but you know where the top is, you're aiming for it, and you get to it, and you're rewarded.
Yeah.
But not really rewarded with like, you made 5,000 calories, or you burned 5,000 calories. It's like, here's a fucking view. You can see more than you could see before.
Yeah, here's a new perspective.
There's a new perspective.
Yeah.
Exactly. And all these things you bring back down the mountain, you're like, oh, why do I just have this really cool idea about this thing I've been working on all week? Because you have a new perspective on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So someone should just pay me to climb a mountain. But like, that's the thing. If you want to work physical, if you want your work to be physical, like, so many of them are just back-breaking all day, fixing a road. Fuck me. I'm beat at the end of the day, and I don't have any energy to do anything for myself.
Yeah.
So it's like, you want a part-time. You want a part-time laborer's job. Yeah. Or just like, I don't know. Why can't we work on the farms where we get our food? So you have to go to Poland, but... Guatemala. Just commute to Guatemala to work on the farm where I get my coffee beans.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying.
Or like, everybody who lives in the city is actively participating in the landscaping of the city.
Yeah,
like, why don't we rake our lawn or clean our streets? Because it's all been subdivided.
Yeah.
Like, parceled out to pros who just do that all day, every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
If the office workers didn't have to work 40-hour weeks and could have time where it was like you're taking care of your environment in this time. That's your work in this time.
Imagine how much litter would go down, because it's like, God damn, I'm gonna have to clean that up tomorrow.
Yeah. No one else is gonna deal with that.
Yeah.
But that's like massive revolution.
Yeah, totally. Because we've got into this system where it's like so much time. I wonder if it's to do with like training. Because it doesn't take much to train someone how to sweep their front porch. But if you want to clean a city, you're going to have to do tickets on how to drive street sweepers and how to use hazmat and like, you know, there's a list of things that you're going to have to do before you can get a job doing that. And not everybody can be trained up on that.
Yeah.
I guess. But it's impossible to do it. Even if you were to pay for yourself to get trained up on it and do it at night school. Like, you can learn how to be a lawyer at night school, but you can't just take care of your own front yard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's the appeal for me with sort of semi-homesteading, though. Because if you're growing food and you have to maintain land or take care of a certain amount of land and crops, that's going to be physical, because you're not going to be able to afford a tractor because you don't have 2,000 acres.
And I think that, like, part of the way of getting there, or the only way that we can do it at the moment, because a lot of people in our society, especially in this country, work in offices, work in organisations and whatever, but for an organisation to say, we don't have cleaners here, like, if you work for this company and you work in this building, you take care of it, because otherwise you can't do your job, and no one can do their job. So if you want a job here, part of that duty that you take on is to keep the environment where you work, and mop the floors and like hoover and take out the trash. And
people would lose their shit.
I know they would.
What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. And like, you don't have to work in many offices to see that people just don't clear shit up after themselves.
Yeah.
Offices are like, it's so funny. It's just like, if I leave it there by the sink, someone else will do it.
Because someone else will do it.
Yeah. Whereas when you're at home, it's like, okay, well, I know I'm going to have to do this. So, but it's just so anonymous. It's like, it's crazy. But I don't know. I think that organizations might have to just do that for themselves, because it's not going to, like, the idea of taking care of your own city is a good one, but it's not going to happen, anytime soon.
No.
Or it's, it's a very it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I don't know, I think
a small business could do it.
Yeah, totally. And even a big business, you might have to have cleaners to mop floors and hoover or whatever, but take your own fucking rubbish out.
Yeah.
Clean up your own dishes.
Yeah.
Empty the dishwasher, whatever. And that's cool, because then it's like, well, you got to take a break. You got to take a break from work.
Yeah.
Got to get up.
Yeah. Yeah, get up.
Yeah. And, I think that in a way that's what quite, because you work at home, I think there's lots that you can do if you work at home that's quite in quite a healthy way could set you up for that, so that you'll take a break in an hour to do the dishes.
Yeah.
And then you can get straight back into work, and you can get up and just pace around. You can even put a yoga mat down next to your chair and go to it every now and then.
Yeah.
Whereas,
take a calling down a dog.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, working on the floor is good.
Yeah, and just sitting on the floor is so good.
you get up off the floor 10 times a day.
Mm.
Whereas if you work in a chair, you never get on the floor.
Mm.
And I think old people have real trouble. A lot of old people just have trouble getting down onto the floor.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, so there's this idea that, what is it? If you can't, the test of if you can't get back up standing from sitting down without using your hands. So if you're on the floor and you want to get back up to standing, if you can't do that without using your hands, it like takes a year off your life.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, you know, more than it's an indicator of like
you're fucked.
But it's a really, you know, it's a really basic functional movement that you should be able to do without too much difficulty.
Yeah, but I feel like people are going to be pissed off at that because I wonder how many people can't.
I know. Yeah. And it's crazy to me because I hang around yoga studios and like, you know, we're all pretty young and healthy and stuff. I haven't encountered it much.
Yeah.
And I just assume it's a thing everyone can do because I find it so easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure even people our age,
Yeah.
there's quite a few people who couldn't. Like, the thing that's great about sitting, so I'm sitting on the floor now, and the great thing about sitting on the floor is that, like, you have to pay more attention to how your body feels, because after I'm if when you're sitting on the floor, if I sit cross-legged as I am now, in about 2 minutes, my body's going to give me signals of, like, you're not comfortable anymore, move.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to move and find another position. And then after 2 minutes being in that position, I'll have to move again and find another position. Yeah. And that's really useful, I think, because you have to pay more attention to. Whereas if you're in a chair,
lumbar supported chair,
there's not many different ways you can sit.
Well, it's like the perfect chair, so you can stay at the desk for 8 hours without having to move.
Yeah. Oh, great.
It's like an inconvenience to have to move, to readjust, and sit. Maintain comfort, and it's like, well, you're not supposed to sit in the same position for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Your body, you sit on the floor and you've moved 5 times in an hour at least. You're always moving around. You're lifting a leg up. You're rearranging how your shoulders are. You're like leaning back, leaning forward.
Yeah, and that's good. It's useful for your body to find different ways of supporting you, supporting yourself. You know, it's good and helpful.
It's like, how can we sustain all this shit that our bodies are actually like, whoa, I don't do that normally.
Yeah, just not paying attention to, like, discomfort.
Yeah.
Distracting ourselves from it in some way.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Another good thing I read, which is like a side point, another good thing I read about how to make sure that you stay active if you're at work is to just make sure that you're constantly drinking water. Because then you have to get up to go to the toilet.
Oh, right, I was thinking fill the glass.
No, you have to get up
Empty.
to pee. Yeah, and to refill. Yeah.
But it does still seem a far cry from not having to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Going to pee doesn't, like, burst a sweat.
I know, but I don't know if that's, like, not the right way to look at it.
Maybe not.
Isn't it better to be getting up every sort of maybe 10 minutes and walking around than it is to just sit and then go to the gym for 2 hours? You know, sit for 5 hours and then go to the gym for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to...
I mean, I'm not suggesting that just getting up to go to the toilet
workout
is enough exercise, or not enough exercise, is active enough.
Yeah.
You know, it isn't, but it's a good way to make sure that you're moving.
Yeah, you're doing more than...
Yeah. And that you're, like, paying attention to what your body needs, because it's really hard to ignore a full bladder in a way that it's not, you know, it's not difficult to ignore other things, like the feeling of tightness in your chest or in your lower back because you've just been sitting and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why like CrossFit and Tough Mudder and stuff like that are so popular these days. Because of so many people being in an office. It's like, well, I've got my weekends off, so I need to pretend to be in boot camp or have someone yell at me to do like another 20. Because I know that Monday morning comes around, I'm going to be in that goddamn lumbar supporting chair. I'm like,
yeah, yeah. And if you have lumbar issues and you sit in a lumbar supporting chair, your lumbar's never going to get better.
I mean, I don't even know what that chair is. It just makes me sound like I'm smart.
But yeah, I've seen them at work, like fancy chairs, and they just have this big like wedge at the back, low down, so that, and I don't know. It's like, again, I keep talking about them, but it's like when I did the workshop with Peter Blackaby, and he was saying that if you've got if you've got issues with your instep, the sole of your foot, and you wear, what are they called?
Insoles.
Insoles, yeah. So you've got an issue like a high arch or something, and you wear an insole.
Yeah.
That is, well, it's gonna alleviate the problem in the short term.
Yeah.
Like, it will make you feel more supported and comfortable,
Yeah.
sort of like now.
Yeah.
But it's never gonna remedy the issue that you've got with a high arch or like a bad sole.
Yeah.
But, so if you can start moving your feet and training your feet to respond better to just the natural surface of the ground and a sort of unsupported sole, over time your foot, it will get better.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to walk better as well. And isn't that more desirable than having to rely on insoles? And it become potentially worse as you get older.
Yeah, you just need bigger and bigger insoles.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's the point. The super cynic in me is like, but that's why
because it's
want to sell
an
more
immediate
insoles.
Yeah.
An immediate problem. What an immediate solution to a problem can be sold more often than a long-term solution.
Yeah, of course. Well, the long-term solution doesn't require any product.
Exactly. But do you think that's it? I think that's the only reason we take the insole or the lumbar chair? Or...
Okay, yeah, the cynic would say, yeah, you just want to sell more insoles.
I know, but that's
and the
lame.
Optimist would say, well, people want to alleviate suffering as immediately as they can.
Yeah.
But it does have to do, I think, with this sort of pervasive idea of let's cure the symptom.
Yeah, hey.
And not, like, looking any further than that, really.
Do you think that's innate to cure the symptom, or do you think that's modern way of thinking?
Yeah, I think it's modern. I don't think it's innate. I mean, I don't know.
No.
But I don't think it's innate. I think that quite a lot of like ancient healing practices were all about the opposite, yoga included. But like ancient Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, like these old systems of healing and medicine, I think were more to do with the holistic.
Yeah, holistic.
Yeah, whereas treating symptoms does seem like more of a modern thing, I think.
Yeah. I guess we've got so good at parceling out the specific symptom. Because there's like experts in everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can fix that little hitch you have in your knee.
Yeah.
Whereas someone looking at the whole body would be like, well, just lean back a little when you walk, or I don't know.
Well, yeah, they'd look at how that knee functions in a whole body movement and how that, how the knee is included or not included in basic everyday movements and how to try and map that better. And look at other movements that you can do that will help that part of your body become more integrated and become stronger by doing whole holistic movements. You know, and sometimes needing to look at the psychological factors behind it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, we're very quick to be like, I've got an issue with this part of my body. Like, I've got an issue with this.
Well, half the people I know seem to have their back is like, yeah, my back's fucked. Or like, I have back problems.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're 30.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you don't have back, you know, they're saying it as if it's like their back has decided to rebel in some way, you know, that it's disconnected.
I was doing everything right and my back was like,
fuck my back's just decided to hurt. Yeah. It's like, no. But it could have to do with the way you habitually tense up when, you know, you're in situations where you feel uncomfortable. It could have lots to do with posture and the habitual ways you've got into holding yourself for whatever reason.
Yeah. Over every single day.
Yeah, over time. Yeah, over a long period of time. Which has to do with all sorts of things. Has to do with, you know, how safe you felt as a child. And, you know, it's that basic. Yeah. Your body is an expression of the things that you've had to face in life. Yeah. Your body becomes, you know, very good at adapting to the circumstances it's faced with.
And I wonder if if we could be talking about our mind as well. Where it's like, we've become so good at adapting to the situation and we're compensating with one part and one part is tense and the other bit is like being neglected and weaker and the other bit.
Well, they're not separated.
I know, it's so hard to not separate them. Yeah. But we just need a different word that like takes it all in. You, me,
self.
The self. The self is the body and the mind together.
The Trinity.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a book that is mentioned in that one that I haven't read called Emotional Anatomy, which sounds quite interesting. Probably covers quite a lot of what you were saying. Yeah. But that thing of like how you'll see the stiff upper lip, say, attitude of the Victorian gentleman, and that sort of like chest forward, stomach in, kind of chin up, was, you know, very useful on the battlefield, but not useful for sort of dealing with the emotional outfall of being in the battlefield. Whereas the person who has become defeated by life and feels unable to face up to the challenges of their life, you know, has the drooping sort of shoulders and the sort of collapsed chest.
Like protecting the chest.
Yeah. So, you know, that's an obvious way to see that link between mind and body.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting experiment to, like, next time you feel like, oh, my knee's hurting, is to immediately think, okay, what's going on in my mind? Or you wake up with a crick in your neck and you're like, okay, what was I dreaming about, or what was I thinking about yesterday that made that happen?
Yeah. And I don't know if it's as easy as that.
Like, actually, I was playing tennis.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like we were saying, over a very, very long period of time, and it's actually, you know, it's a combination of different things. But I don't want to like segue too much because it's
Do it.
yeah. Well, one thing that I wanted to ask you about, and it's not like I sort of been preparing this, but one thing I wanted to ask you about because I know that you've thought about it before, and because I just read it this morning when I was reading 12 Rules for Life. Peterson talks about this idea again of hell and how it's a very useful thing for an individual to try and imagine and really conceptualize what hell would be for them, like what your personal hell is.
Yeah.
And I think it's, I don't know, it like scares me, but I also think it would be a really useful thing. And there's something that sort of appeals to me about it, but I find it really hard to know how to do it, or like where to start, or what my version would be. And I don't know, just because I know you thought about it, like what is it? Just like try to imagine, like what's the worst kind of life you could possibly imagine?
The way I found myself getting to it was thinking, okay, what are my vices? And then taking your vices to their extreme.
Right, okay.
Logical end.
Because so it wouldn't just be like trying to imagine the worst kind of life that you could have that would be almost completely unrealistic based on what your life is now.
Sold into sex slavery and,
Yeah.
like that would be hell.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be your hell.
Yeah.
Because why the hell would you be there?
Okay.
But for me, it was like, well, I know I have an addictive personality and like don't mind substance abuse. Okay. I would probably take heroin or end up an alcoholic. Because if I just drank all the time or took all the drugs, I would probably end up on heroin.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, you end up in a heroin den or like a slum or whatever they call them. And all your friends and family have tried to help you over and over and over again, and you've taken their help and then squandered it and lied to them and lost all the helpful hands that are extended to you. And you're surrounded by people who don't want the best for you because they're junkies too.
Yeah.
And you don't see any reason to carry on because you've done all these things that you never thought you would because you're in total the grip of this fucking thing, and you end up killing yourself because like the world has just got, you're in hell, and it's like I want to be dead rather than be here. So it doesn't take that much for me to get to killing myself in a fucking slum or ODing on purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, at least I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Which surprised me because I didn't know that would be my hell.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that makes sense as well because obviously you know, and I know that you're very high in openness, and which is a really good trait, but can also have its, like everything can have its shadow side where it's like you'll try anything.
I'm open to shooting heroin into my eyeballs because I haven't done that before.
Yeah.
And I wonder what it's like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I think the vices come from the virtues.
Yeah.
Or are the shadow side to the virtue. Because I think I've got a lot from that experimentation and, like, expanding my mind through different things and being like, oh, that's a different way of looking at the world. So maybe when I'm sober, I look at the world in one way instead of the way. Because you take something and it's like, whoa, this is a different world. I thought the world was like that. But yeah, I think you find your own personal hell through, that's interesting how you can find your own personal hell through like your good qualities. I guess heaven and hell are just the same. Or not the same, but
yeah, and I hadn't sort of thought about that before because I'd sort of thought, and I'd sat down, and because I've been like tentatively coming at this thing, because I know that you talked about how it's been so helpful for you, and I'm reading Peterson, he talks about it. We got time?
So
We good?
yeah.
And so I've been like, I think I sat down a little while ago and tried to think about it, and I sat down a couple of weeks ago and I remember writing about it. And I think the second time I sat down to write about it was quite soon after we'd done those personality traits, and I was sort of like, right, well, I know that I'm not very high in conscientiousness and industriousness, so imagine, can I imagine that I don't manage to do any of the things that I want to in life. Like, I don't manage, I can't handle the stress of a job that I want to have at work, and I don't end up doing the job, like either having to quit it or getting fired from it because I don't know, not even too lazy, but almost like I can't face up to the challenge of it. So, and for me, like when I was writing, one of the worst moments as I was writing it was like, okay, so if I like end up having to quit my job and whatever, and I'm out of work and I haven't got the confidence to start my own work and job, I have to move back into my parents' place. And that was like, fuck. That would be awful.
Yeah.
And I know that's like, it's not a heroin den.
Yeah.
But it, like, what that would mean for me, I think, was pretty big. That I would move back in with my parents and not be employed and just have to live off them, essentially.
Yeah.
And
forever.
Yeah, and that the spiral of lack of self-confidence would just unfold for me. Because I think that's one of the things that I struggle with the most.
Yeah.
Like, confidence to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that it would just unfold, and I'd end up probably, well, just being like incredibly depressed and probably having an eating disorder again, or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I don't feel clear about that as a hell. And another thing that I was wondering, just as you were talking then, we were talking about like virtues, is, well, I know that I was like incredibly high in agreeableness in my personality traits, so would it be more like I just end up sacrificing things that I want for other people? So yeah, it seems lame because it's not like as violent as yours.
Well, I think you can take it to violence, and I think you need to with hell.
Yeah.
Because like you move in with your parents, and you're a failure. Like, yeah, that sucks. But that doesn't suck compared to a lot of people's day-to-day lives.
No.
So you move in with your parents and you're a failure, and you spiraled into depression, and you have a nervous breakdown, and then you get sectioned, and then you're in like a padded cell for the rest of your life, chewing the walls. Like, that's hell.
Yeah.
Like sitting in.
Yeah.
Well, just like tapping out.
Yeah.
Being like insane.
Yeah.
That's more like it.
Yeah.
Or suicide comes to mind quite quickly. Like depression.
Yeah. But it has
guilt.
to be, but it's difficult because that really doesn't feel like an option to me. And I don't know whether it's like, well, it's never going to feel like an option, but it's something that could happen.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it doesn't, that, like, the idea of killing myself, I don't think feels real for me in the way that I think it maybe feels like it for you.
Yeah. So then it's probably not the exact one.
No.
But I think you need to push it
Yeah.
to hell.
Yeah.
Because that's just like that's a really bad situation.
Yeah.
But you need to take it to where it's like a tragic tragedy, a tragic life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know where that would go, but becoming such a burden or being so guilty about the fact that you've had to re-burden your parents that you end up smashing apart the family relationship, and like everybody ends up never talking to each other again. And I don't know, you know, you have to think about like what would be what's the worst thing that could happen? Then that happens. Okay, then what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah.
Okay, then what happens? The worst, like, and I wonder if you always get back to death or violence.
Yeah, and I think you're right that you have to take it there if you're actually thinking about hell.
Yeah. But then it's really helpful for me to have this image of like moment almost in my life where it's like that would be the most tragic moment my life could get to.
That's interesting.
Because then it's like, well, for one, it's like, okay, what's the exact opposite of that? What I can go towards? But also, day to day, it's like, look how far I am away from that.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not living the dream or like doing exactly what I want every minute of every day, I can look back at that and be like, well, fucking, there's miles between me and there. So I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of positive reinforcement of like, you're moving in the right direction. You're moving
every
in the right direction.
Every moment is not that moment.
Yeah. And every moment is hopefully moving away from that.
Yeah.
But having that moment, well, just moving away from vagaries isn't as effective, I don't think.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. But it's just interesting that, like, I don't know, it'd be interesting to, like, get a group of guys and a group of women to do this and just think, because I don't know if it's something about women that, like, it's harder. I feel almost like there's a block on me imagining violence, like something that's too violent. And I know that I could do, because, like, obviously I have fucking dark thoughts like anybody else does, but to really, really know and think that that could be a reality, it's like, you know, because I've sat and written about these things, but it's hard, I find, and I don't know whether it would be interesting to see if it's like easier for guys, whether there's something in our, you know.
Yeah, I wonder if most guys would think themselves to, I'd kill myself. Like, this would be the situation.
Or kill someone else.
Yeah.
I think that would be one as well.
Whereas for a woman, I wonder if it's...
Well, I mean, the immediate thing that came to my head that would be like, you know, like killing kids.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the worst.
Yeah.
Thing that I could imagine.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to know why or what would happen for that to happen.
Yeah, and I wonder if pre-kids it's like, I wonder what hell would be, and then post-kids it's like, I know exactly what would be hell immediately. It would be their death because of my actions or inaction.
Yeah.
And then having to live with it.
Yeah.
But then you'd end up killing yourself anyway, probably. Jesus.
But I know people do live with that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And I bet it is hell.
Yeah. And then you gotta visualize what heaven would be as well.
Yeah. Well, that's why you do it, right?
Yeah.
You don't do this just to be like, ooh, what's the darkest thing?
Yeah.
You know, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
It's so that you can create a positive force that pulls you away from that, I think.
Yeah. Yeesh.
Yeah, I feel like I brought the tone down.
Well, I don't know. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
But it's heavy.
Yeah. And again, it's just something that I don't think... Well, I would never have thought about it unless I'd been exposed to these books. Or like these ideas.
Yeah. And that's why you've got to expose yourself to the public. No, you've got to expose you've got to expose yourself to instances of hell.
Yeah.
In history, in fiction, and drama, and in our own imagination. Because that's a hell of a lot better than looking at it in real life.
Yeah.
But also, if you don't, then you're like, oh my god, my fucking latte's cold. And it's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, hey.
And so much more than just that, but it does make you so goddamn appreciative. Like, there's not rape and pillage in the streets right now. We can go outside. That's heaven for a lot of people in history. They literally couldn't go outside because they'd be raped and killed.
Mm. Yeah.
So for your own ambitions or goals and articulating those to yourself, it's good, but it's also good for appreciating what you do have.
It's quite good for society.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine it being good just for like as well. I don't know, not being afraid.
Yeah.
Not being so afraid.
Yeah. Because it's like, you know, it's not so bad.
Well, I was just thinking, and I know that this is like what your version of hell or whatever, but I am quite scared of people living on the streets.
Yeah.
And I know that that's a weird fear I have about some condition of life that I don't know about, and that seems to me like, well, it does seem like hell.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that for a lot of people, that is, again, like an idea of hell, to be like, you know, living in a disused parking lot, or, you know, just under, you know, it's such a visual kind of reminder of like just that idea of being out of the system in some way, being completely set loose, cut adrift.
Yeah.
You know, but to sort of push yourself to the place where you could imagine that happening to you.
Yeah. Hey.
And to be very clear with yourself on how that could happen.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if it would just help to get rid of that fear, which I don't think is useful and productive.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you'd then end up, you know, dedicating your life to helping the plight of people in the streets or whatever, but it would just, you know,
like understanding a problem or facing your fears. I mean, it's cliche, but it's like they are incomprehensible almost, so it's terrifying. And then you're like, well, what would actually have to happen for me to be there? And it's only 3 things. You know, you lose your job, your family, and start substance abuse, and you're there. It's less than 5 years, probably. I mean, we're sitting in an apartment now, and it feels like this is permanent. And, I mean, it should be. but a few things go wrong.
Yeah.
And then I think you build empathy too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everybody's in that boat. And the people who are on the streets, it's only been a couple things that have gone wrong.
Yeah.
A couple poor decisions,
Yeah,
but not
yeah.
even decisions maybe. Just like life kicking them in the face. And it's
Yeah.
like, boom, they're on the streets. And I remember talking to one guy, he asked me for some money, and we were just walking down the road, and he was just like, I can't believe this is happening to me. And that just like,
Yeah.
because I just see a homeless person, I'm like, well, you're a homeless person.
Almost like that's the life they've chosen to live.
You've
like,
always been one, and you're always going to be one, and like, you know, you're happy in your day job. And it's like, it just broke me. Broke right through. It was like, no, you were someone's kid. You had dreams and ambitions.
And that's so human, hey, that I can't believe that. Because that's what you'd say.
Exactly. I was like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That is what I would say to someone if I ended up on the street.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to think about.
I know. And I don't much.
No.
You have to like force yourself to look. Whereas day to day it's like, need to pay rent. Holy shit, need to pay rent. So stressful. But that's just like self-preservation.
Yeah. Which you need to do as well. But like, I don't know, it's good to think about these things.
Yeah.
It's better than ignoring them.
Oh yeah, that's weird, hey? Because you'd think it would be. But it's like ignoring the fact that you're sitting in the wrong position, you know? After years and years and years, that thing's just gonna pop out and fucking slip disc. And you're gonna have a panic attack when someone asks you for change because you've never dealt with the fact that they're human. Or they're gonna say something and you're just gonna freak. Or like... Or the one bad thing happens and you just... Well, I don't know. It's gonna transform itself into worse shit in the future. You just ignore it.
Yeah.
You can't ignore the bad things.
Yeah. And I mean, there's the thing as well, which I think is true, that fear is like a step away from resentment and hatred and anger.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's way easier to know, like way easier to become violent towards something that you're afraid of or don't understand.